Here's Phil to tell you more.
Why did you decide to do such a long documentary, particularly on me, when your previous documentaries had always been much shorter than that?
Well, I mean, it's your timeline, right? So it really reflects the time a person is notable. You have been causing a bit of mayhem since like 2003, 2001. So it was really because there was just so much stuff to cover, and people people still wanted more. I guess, but yeah, it was just because there was so much stuff.
Some people, I'm going to be honest with you, Joe. Some people have been nitpicky about certain parts of the doc. For example, some people about the PC. All right, this PC where this guy Mighty Furtado, he built me this PC, and when I arrived, it was partially not working as intended or as promised, and we got into a big scuff about it publicly, about the cost and everything. And a lot of people were like, "Why was that such a big deal? It's just a PC." And I think, at least, all right, from your perspective, just to ask you this, why do you feel that that was a key part of the story? This one situation about the PC that you even had him on and you interviewed him specifically.
It was just another example of like how you slighted a fan, right? It was just another and it was someone that I could interview, right? It was someone that I can get that is still accessible to this day, that can tell their story, and that is just to I guess bring a voice to all the people you really I guess slighted over the years. It was just one example.
This was one of the first times in my history that this was someone who had been an outspoken supporter of mine. Like you had said, they built a fan site for me and everything. And when this thing showed up, I really did feel like they kind of screwed me over. And quite honestly, I probably shouldn't have made a big deal about it. I should have just let it go. It's not a big deal, right? I'm the YouTuber. I'm the guy making the money. I can just get another PC if I'm really that bothered by it or whatever. But it got to me, and then I start talking about it, and then I misspeak, because what actually ended up happening is in the react to your documentary, someone had sent me the original video where I had ever brought this up, and we played it live on the stream. And in that original video, I had said, this PC is $1,600. Like, I outright said that, and that was correct. Per your research, you confirmed it was a $1,600 PC. But because I'm so stupid, right, and I can't let it go, and I hyperfixate on it, and this guy keeps talking about it, I keep talking about it, the narrative changes to it's $3,000. I don't even know how that happened. Like, I don't even know where that confusion happened, that the number got inflated. So it's right that you would call me out on that, and I'm glad that you did. But, when there's certain things in the documentary that were kind of hyper-focused on those moments, some people were like, oh, I wonder why particularly this or that was such a long segment. Like the other one, the big one that people actually want me to ask you about is when you started talking about VTubers. Because people are like, it seems out of place. No one really thought that a VTuber thing was a big deal. What was your methodology with the VTuber segment? How did that come about?
Well, Phil, you're like, this is a very long question. You're adding a lot. So I guess I have
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. So the $3,000, I believe, came from a comment, and Mighty Furtado, I'm pretty sure, has that comment on his Twitter where you stated it was $3,000 that you said, right? The VTuber segment too was kind of like to show you how you are still notable even today, because VTubers are I guess uniquely more recent. You know what I mean? They're a very new form of content, yet they still talk about you.
I was always planning to fess up the WWE Champions account when I was live reacting to your documentary. I knew you were going to cover it so in depth that there was no way I was going to be able to lie about it and weasel my way out of it. You were going to pin me to the wall on that, right?
So that's why I did it during the documentary. What are your thoughts on that? That the whole arc basically ends with me reacting and admitting it.
I don't know. The thing is with that is it was kind of like an open secret where everyone knew that you were that account, right? Pretty much everyone I talked to, it's like, oh yeah, even I knew. My personal belief was you were always down from the rafters. So for you to admit it, I'm like, okay, well, at least things can move forward a bit and people can focus on something else. I think it's I guess cool for the arc, if that was your question.
I I feel like the way you did it, because the way you do your documentaries it's not malicious, and that's a good thing, I feel, and I respect you for that. You know, there's other documentarians out there, they're literally going for the jugular. They're trying to make you look like more of a villain for drama purposes, and I don't think you did that. And I respect you for that. And also, I'll say this: I have an issue with documentarians who, like, they'll do the doc, but then they want to create an endless feed of content, right? And I'm going to call someone out, and I don't know if you agree with this or not, and I'd like to have your opinion on it. So Turkey Tom did a documentary about me late last year, okay? And it was called 10 Years of Failure. And of course, I have issue with that title, whatever. That's not the problem. The problem was after it came out, he said he wanted to interview me. But come to find out, the whole thing was an attempt for him to get me on the Lalcow podcast. And he even said publicly, oh, this is a way to milk Phil for content and to keep milking him and getting more out of him. That I'm not cool with, you know?
What? I mean, Phil, I don't know like where to start. Like, I feel like that title is accurate too. What was incorrect about Tom's video?
Oh, nothing. I'm not even saying there's anything wrong with this video at all. What? I'm saying the fact that his intention was to try to get my attention, to milk more content, and to basically turn me into a source of revenue. That's what he was basically saying he was trying to do, and that's what I wasn't cool with. Similar to Side Scrollers, where I had no issue with their original interview. It's the attempts to get tons of money and content out of someone after the fact, when that was never really part of the upfront agreement. That's where I have issue with people. And I don't think that wasn't your attempt here with this documentary at all.
Well, I mean, I think it's fine. I mean, like, I don't know really where you're going with this, because I feel you kind of do it the same. Like, you keep the drama rolling, and that's fine. That's, like, I think, smart business. I really just don't do that because I'm not like a personality. But I think on Tom's side, that if I was Tom, I would do the same. But I think even with like the Craig stuff, right? You brought him back just to like insult him, and that is like drama too. You kept that kind of going the same way, if that makes sense.
Craig, is that what you just said?
Yeah.
I was on the show. No, to be honest, I didn't think that interview was going to go that way at all. Okay, I really didn't. Like, I thought what was going to happen was I was going to apologize to him for lying on his show, and he was going to apologize for the follow-up where he basically made a lot of money for my detractors, and we were going to be cool. And that's not what happened. I mean, what happened, right? I had no interest in insulting the guy or anything. I mean, he told me to go fuck myself in that interview when I was being cordial. You know, I was just asking him questions and pressing him on some things I thought were unfair. And he's the one who escalated it first. Okay. But in your case, like you said, you're not that kind of person who's going to be trying to escalate. You're not going to continuously make that content. I mean, at this point, you're probably on to the next 5 projects, right?
Well, see, that's like the difference. I don't think like I don't see that as an issue to try to escalate. I think drama kind of keeps like the internet alive. I mean, you yourself are like getting more into like the drama sphere, which I think is good for your channel. And I also like, I don't know, Phil. I just don't understand. You know what I mean? I think we kind of like see things a bit different here.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and that's fine.
Okay, now this question, I'm going to warn you. This person maybe spinning it in a certain way. And just so you know, I'm not saying I agree with what this person is saying, but I'm just going to read it word for word. Okay. For Joon, why were there parts in the documentary where you would quite rightly introduce Phil's arguments with skepticism? For example, Phil claims, or this is supposedly because. But with third-party statements, you would sometimes speak in absolutes. For example, based on John and Howard's words, you would say, Phil was bold-faced lying. I'm curious why you didn't introduce their comments with skepticism also. Something like, well, if we were to take them at their word, this would mean Phil was bold-faced lying. I completely agree that you need to be skeptical with hearsay, but you should be skeptical with everyone's hearsay, not just Phil's, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, that like lends more to credibility, and that
you have such a lengthy history of lying, right?
it's hard to really pin that down.
I agree. Listen, and I'm not taking offense. I agree with you, man. I do.
Yeah, but I'm just answering that question. So that's why I would present you as such a way, because I mean, through their words, they're more credible people, and I have no reason to really distrust what they're saying as opposed to you.
Do you think that Phil deserves the amount of A-logging that he still gets? And do you think that he still deserves to be on the Lalcow list? Have the detractors become worse than Phil at this point?
So this is all just like, I guess, my opinion. I I've never been a fan of, like, I guess, the A-logging, like,
Hmm.
really going out of your way to do something, like, crazy or whatever, but, that's I guess it does bring up some entertainment. I don't know, right? I wouldn't do it. I'm not a fan of it, but, the lolcow list, I think, yeah, like, I guess what makes the lolcow is the consistency and the failure, and I can see, like, that you are still there. I think also you're always somehow gonna, like, be on the platform one way or another, but you are, I think, cemented there on the list.
I'm curious on your take on this. All right. You have now covered a bunch of different people on the internet. You've seen the toxic communities that form around certain people, like you said, like Wings and myself. Do you think there is potential someday? And I'm not saying you, but do you think there's potential someday that someone could flip this and actually do a documentary on the worst detractors and their communities? And would that have potential to be something that could blow up?
That would be hard. That because with like the people I covered, it's like a singular person and there's a clear timeline and it's a lot more consumable, right? Detractors are a broad field. So like are we talking about like viewers? You know what I mean? Like are we talking about like just people who type in the chats? Because like I don't think anyone cares about those people. But if you're
Right.
talking about like the more like intense ones that like really go crazy,
Yeah, I would say that,
I don't know.
we're talking about people on kiwi farms who are doxing people. We're talking about the people who are making a living with these detractor channels. Just a couple off the top of my head, Duty Streams, or Memology 101, who literally take my videos every day and make toxic content out of it. Because some people say to me, these people, when you analyze them, in reality are bigger lolcows than the people that they fixate on and make money on by making these videos. And I don't really know because I don't spend time microanalyzing these people, but I just find it fascinating that people in a lot of ways might say the people who are focusing on the lolcows and making this content about them, in some cases may actually be the bigger lolcows. And is there potential there in the future to maybe analyze that? No.
It would be like really difficult, and I don't really currently see that. I guess.
Oh well, I fucked Phil.
So, hint, hint. So, hint, hint. So, hint, hint.